I'm thinking this is perfect. What could be added on top of that? Not just in the way of that we've had this really incredibly precious time together. What a beautiful, intimate Sangha. And I think that was the perfect culmination. And also just the question of, is this not perfect in any moment or every moment? Ask the mind, what's missing? And maybe not just rhetorically, see what the mind has to say, to listen openly. And also maybe to know in the background of all of that, that everything is in this perfection. And isn't also every moment the culmination of all of you, all of your history, all of your experiences? Without that, not this. So we're always at the pinnacle. And every single moment, the very pinnacle of our total existence, our very beingness. Without our histories, without our ancestors, without the world histories. Without stars having exploded into cosmic dust that really makes up our physical bodies. That a whole universe is created and then somehow magically reconstitutes as David. You know, in a very literal sense, the universe is inside of you. Also in a mystical sense, it's true. And then the universe is in you, and you in the universe. How can it fit? You know, ask quietly in your own mind, what would improve this moment? What would you add or subtract? And there are moments like Richard playing the flute that are obvious perfection. Yeah. The fog, the sound of fish, birds, river. Can we enter the Tao from here? Can we open, let the Tao enter us here? All of this coming from my deep gratitude for all of you. What a marvelous few weeks we've spent together. So many people coming with their own particular fragrance of beauty. Mm. What a delicious soup. I really, truly, personally feel so overflowing with gratitude. You know, this is a very personal sense of it. And I'm appreciative of this personal sense of gratitude, grateful for it. And also a beautiful reflection of moments carved out in time that show me that this is always the opportunity. And gratitude for the perfection of the unfolding of things. So also a transpersonal gratitude, global. And isn't it true that in this moment, the group of us are so coherent? There's such a resonance, like a beautiful symphony of each one's hearts coming together. Can you feel it? This togetherness in resonance. Have you seen it when they take the metronomes and they put them on some sort of a surface that also is moves, and they're all going different? Have you seen this? And then eventually they all come into sync. This is Sangha, and this is Satsang. It's representative of what happens in our hearts and minds when we come together like this. On an easy platform, each one of us coming with our own distinct things. And then we come into some kind of coherence. Okay.
I just find it interesting, the environment now. We're on solid foundation. There's no walls. So we still have to build something. And there's mist all around. Like can't really see too far ahead in the distance. I I feel like that represents a lot where most of us are now. We are on solid foundation, but we can't really see too far. We can see far enough, but yeah. And then maybe if you talk about like the mist of the mind, and yeah, that might be a good way to start.
So beautiful. Is that gratitude again? Forgive me. I'm having a very strong sense of a turning point, a germination. Are you having this also? I love that you bring the metaphor to life of what's actually happening in this reflective reality, that we are sitting on something solid, concrete. It's essential. Cannot build a house on sand. Well, you can. The foundations of ourself and the stability anchored in a quiet, humble, joyous confidence is essential. That is the platform, the rock, the cornerstone on which we build our life, our house. So many of us that come to satsang inherited a house built on something unstable. It fell. We built another house on that same foundation. It fell. We built again. Has anyone else surrendered? I will not build. I will not reinvent on this foundation. This is scary business, this. And what are we rooted in? How stable is the sense of I am in you, the proprioceptive sense of, the personal sense of I am? And this is why sadhana, really, in a way. So here we sit at a turning point, on stable ground. Thank you so much for noticing the reality of the metaphor. Our whole lives are this, really. This life is but a dream. So the metaphors of your life are good pointers. And now the fog and the mist. You say, you can see far enough, but not so far. It seems in a life of surrender, of a readiness and willingness to be in our swadharma, to return to ourselves and blossom from there to become what we can be, expressed in life as life itself manifests. And in that, there's this sense I can never really see around the corner. I can't quite see the horizon. And so this requires tremendous courage and faith. When I first endeavored to live a life of surrender, it felt like I was walking blindfolded, and I never knew that the next step would make solid ground. It felt like this. There was this sort of anxiety, like a trust fall in every single step. And then I never knew certainly what was 2 or 3 steps ahead. And when I really, really started to face the uncertainty, I really didn't even know that the one foot that was lifted, where exactly it would fall. But that I kept walking like this. It's how I'm sitting here now. Blind faith. I had to come to the conclusion that I am a son of God. And this Father loves me so much. How would he lead me astray? So many things will. This is a certainty. But that, and beginning to learn of myself through the slowly evolving discernment, something really beautiful. And beautiful in its service, its love, its selflessness. And a great joy erupts from this. And this kind of courageous faith is what the world would call foolishness. Irresponsible. Isn't it like this? Have we heard it from our families and friends? But who will dare? Who will dare? And who will come to know this joy that is inconceivable to the mind that is rooted in past planning and strategizing, not faith? Cannot know this joy. When I lived at Yogaville, I came very close to a senior disciple of Swami Satchidananda. She's called Amma. And she's a very powerful being, a Christian mystic, and served her guru as master, as her master, and was able to receive from him what he had to offer. And I was so lucky to be able to go and spend nearly every morning with her. And I'd arrive somewhere around 4 or 4:30 in the morning, and she would come down shortly after, and we'd sit together. And her home was built on a hill overlooking the Lotus Shrine, which is the main temple at Yogaville, and overlooking Lotus Lake that the shrine sat right next to. And most mornings there was this kind of fog from the lake, sitting on the lake. Couldn't see the shrine, couldn't see the trees, couldn't see the James River. So shrine, Lotus Lake, James River, like this. And overlooking. And all of it was obscured by the fog. And then, as the sun begins to rise, is added. And then the fog begins to lift. And now even the sky in front of me is obscured. So the fog now was down there, and now it's up here. And all of a sudden, because the humidity is now up at my level, it gets cold. Actually gets colder as the sun first comes. And then the sun continues to rise, and then the fog begins to slowly dissipate. And what does it reveal? You see, the shrine, the lake, the river, were they always there, or did they just somehow magically appear? Because had I not been there the day before, I would have had no idea. So this is the process of revelation. The yogis say that in this Kali Yuga, the minds are foggy. It's called muda. And our intellect is a bit dull, even the sharpest of people. Intellect is a bit dull, and there's so much forgetfulness. But when the mist clears, when the fog clears, there is clarity. You say, I see. What is there is revealed. We could say perhaps that they're just layers of fog. Lenses clouded. So that we think we see and we think we know, but it's informed by the lens of perception. But yesterday we were in meditation and we were listening to the sounds, and I asked, where is the sound? Our most common experience is the music that we're hearing is coming from over there. But where are we actually experiencing it? Even just physically. It's inside of us. Inside of us currently means inside of my head, my ears, processed by my brain. What if the sense of me is now expanded? Still inside of me. We could say that this is the sometimes painful, often delightful process of awakening out of avidya, ignorance, blindness, into clarity. You say, I see. And do you see how things slowly, as the mist dissipates, maybe this tree looks like something different, maybe mystical even. And until the fog is totally cleared, we don't really see it as it is. Which means to say, there are so many revelations on the way to revelation. Be careful what you say it is. Because behind every lens is a different way of perceiving. And on the process of awakening, so many people say it's so many things, thinking that they've arrived. That there was a destination. The ego says, I've arrived, I'm the one who knows. And then we'll begin telling the world all about it, insisting it's this way or that way. Writing books, podcasts, lectures. We've been holding satsangs. There's no problem with any of this, but you be sure that more will be revealed. Constantly, in every moment. And if there is a destination, I don't know it. I'm not saying there's not one. I'm just saying I don't know it. Not even by inference do I know this place called there. So, this fog lifting by the light and heat of the sun is a wonderful metaphor for awakening. Hard really to delineate any gap between metaphor and reality. But the fog, this mistiness, is our the waves in the mind, the vrittis, occlude, clear, reflective perception. So when the fog lifts and there is stillness and clarity, this is what in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, in the second sutra, says, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It's the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind stuff. Fog. And just like with fog, when it lifts, there is clarity. When thinking ceases, attachment to thinking as my thought or me and mine, when that ceases, when thinking ceases, knowing begins. When thinking ceases, knowing begins. When there is attenuation of thoughts, mind settles, not so choppy and fragmented and scattered and frenetic. Some clarity, some intuition, some ability to discern begins to arise in us, but no, further to go. Further to go. Don't we know this actually in our own experience, that this, when the mind sort of pauses, the solution can present? You have a problem, you go to bed, you're not even thinking about it when you shower in the morning and it comes. We all have this experience in our daily lives. It's like this, it's just more profound, and we abide in it, in that not knowing, where knowingness resides. Of course, it makes no sense. But there is a knowing, and it's available to each one of us, that doesn't require anything called learning. It doesn't make learning bad. Study is important. Study of Scripture is very important, but also not necessary. What you come to know, or what you come to think you know, do yourself a favor and validate it in Scripture. There are so many pitfalls, so many delusions and temptations. But it will happen in this place of surrender. When revelation comes, something else will come to either validate it. It will say, here it is, represented in Scripture. And so, no, you're not crazy, because you may be wondering. Huh? Or it may guide you, saying you're just a little off the mark. 3 degrees to the left, and then you'll be okay. And even say, and around the next corner, there will be some forewarning of temptations to come, of challenges. I guess they call them omens, I don't know. But anyway, you'll have a sense of what's coming. You'll know. And you'll know how to read Scripture, and you'll begin to come to learn how to read the world and see what's happening and what's about to happen. How do you say? I've never really tried to articulate this before. I guess maybe like a seed grows. So many seeds. We can see it pop through the ground. And we can see it turn into a sapling. And maybe by that point we know it as oak tree. And so you can start making plans for oak tree. But the world tells us. It reflects the past. It also invites into future. But only seen from now. Seen from now, one can review past. One can anticipate future. From past, lost. From past, just past. Past is past. Like a quicksand. So when the mind settles, when you come into this recognition of this thing that's repeated so often in spiritual language, the here and now, this sense of I am as what is, existence, and this knowingness begins to dawn. Also a great sense of joy and easefulness. And from this now you can see the movements and patterns and probabilities of time. Use it well. Use it to be good and do good. This is very important because it's not a problem. You will engage in temptation. And you will fight battles that aren't yours to fight. But just always be gently paying attention so that you learn from each. Accepting the invitations. You learn paying attention. You learn, you become ever more discerning like this. And so this is how we know. We say, yesterday very much felt like a pivot point. In this moment, now we're sitting on concrete and there's fog, and right? So it's always talking to us in this way. When we have an ear that hears, an eye that sees. When each one comes to this space of some dawning of autonomy, of sovereignty in your own life, out of conditioned past, automated, reactive beingness, that is the momentum of ego. Always you can know it because it says, I'm right, is constantly trying to figure things out and tell other people how it is. But when the momentum of that, when you see that you're in it and you even endeavor to be free of it, this is the moment, the intersection at which free will begin to dawn in you, proportionally. Meaning, seeing one's conditioning, one can make different kinds of choices. And let me just say here, as an invitation, not so much as a challenge, once you're aware of your habits, once you're aware of your propensities and your conditioning, you're no longer ruled by them. Meaning, there's really no more excuse. Not to say it's not hard to change your conditioning by a sort of an internal resolve to not engage in the things that when I see they don't work for me. It's still difficult, it still hurts, but you can no longer claim ignorance, and you can no longer say, I don't have a choice. In awareness, the choice is there. This is very good news for you, and also very bad news for the ego. Because it can no longer say, well, that's just me. Yes, it is the you that suffers, and so we can continue doing this for decades. I know this from experience. This isn't theoretical. So there is this, and this recognition, free will begins to dawn proportionally. We can make choices, but we must choose to make them. And then we must choose to honor them in a sort of a consistent way. Vow has such a heavy feeling, I think, but it's just a determination. It's kind of a self-respect, a self-love. We think for so long that self-love is like, I always think this about what people say about comfort food. What does comfort food do to us? It puts us on the couch, holding our belly, napping. I'm sad, and so there's a bowl of ice cream. But what does the ice cream do? Is it really comfort food?
Every single time. Without doubt.
It tastes good and feels good. And same thing with I'm tired and you take a 2-hour nap versus a 15-minute nap. You just we have to pay attention. How does it feel? Is it actually working? So when we have a choice, it's wise to exercise it with whatever level of discernment we have available to us, knowing that we will continue to get it wrong over and over again, but this is the process of learning. And getting it right, in a way, is impossible. I remember one time a questioner came to the microphone and asked Muji, Baba, he said, is there free will? And Muji says immediately, no. And he says, yes. And he says, but no. And then one last one, he says, yes. He said something very similar about, do you need a guru? No. Oh, yes. You do. You need a guru. But no, not really. I think we enter the realm of spiritual wisdom when we also are like this, you know? But on the topic of free will, I think it's helpful to have a sort of a visual. When I was inquiring about this was the visualization that came through the mind, which was 2 fish swimming in the ocean, like this. Same speed, going 5 miles an hour, okay? Right next to each other. And then one fish turns around and swims the opposite direction, going 5 miles an hour the opposite way. Right? Free will, yes? Fish decided to swim together, turn, free will. It decided. Not getting into the debate of fish sentience, but anyway, you see the point. What neither fish knows is that they are in an ocean current so wide and deep that they've never seen the edges of it, and it's going 100 miles an hour, east to west. And so neither fish knows that they're actually going 105 miles an hour. And the fish that's turned around in its free will doesn't realize it's going 95 miles an hour backwards. Also, the fish don't know, and most of us here don't often think about it. The Earth is following the sun at about 275,000 kilometers per second through the Milky Way. So, what is this stillness here? That what we call stillness. Even this little bit, very hard won. No, there is a modicum of free will. But when the sentience of fish is no longer bound by water, evolves into sentience called bird, let's say. I'm kind of making this up. There's a different level of free will and directionality, but also there are wind currents too. So this is how it is. There's free will, and when it's there, you must use it for good, for your own good. And when it arises, and as it arises, this is now the time for the yamas and niyamas. This is now the time for the Ten Commandments. Not as some ominous direction from on high, but as a loving suggestion on how to increase your joy and increase your ability to share your joy. It is never about shame. It is never about shame. Shame is taking the seed of the problem and coming around the other way and trying to solve the problem with the problem itself. It can't work. And also, it is wise, when you have free will, to use it with great discernment about what will actually bring sustained joy and share a sustenance called joy with others. And the way to do this is through these scriptural offerings called Ten Commandments or yamas and niyamas. I'm not familiar with many of the other ones, but they're for now. Gospel of Thomas says, "He who has the ear that hears had better listen." Oh, when any relative stillness is achieved and you sit in that stillness, you know. Isn't it true that we know? We can ask somebody to verify when we ask somebody's advice about what we should do or not do or how we should go about it, but we already know when we sit in stillness, in something we might call meditation or prayer. We know. We know. We're so good at pretending we don't know, and the mind will create 1,000 reasons why it's not true. Always whispering in the ear, the voice of the past. So, what to do? I think we're doing it. I think we do this. We love each other, hold each other, challenge each other. It was quite a journey from morning mist to free will. Okay, who has something?
Maybe you could talk a bit more about this whisperer and discernment between what is the whisperer and what is the voice of God, essentially. In this mist of the mind and everything being inside out and backwards and conditioning and habits, and how to find this true discernment and to know which voice it is.
Tell me. Yeah. She wants to know when, to paraphrase, when we're identified in this confusion of I'm right, how do we develop discernment? How do I tell the voice that whispers in my ear from the past from the voice that's leading me to freedom? She says, how do I know my voice versus the voice of God or the voice of so many other things in between? So many voices. But tell me, what's your experience? Like, What do you think?
I guess immediately I go to the heart. And it's not really what I think, it's what I feel. It comes back again to this stillness, I suppose. And there's something also to do with like this, if I can create this space in between what I'm hearing and I guess essentially sitting in the seat of hearer, if this makes sense. The witness, observer, whatever you want to call it, if I can hear from that seat, then maybe anything I hear could be true. There's truth in everything. It's just a matter of where I'm sitting from or listening from.
Yeah. Yes. The simplest litmus test is what's in it for me. Is the voice offering you something for you, the me and mine? Or is it offering an opportunity to love and serve? You see, the me still doesn't quite get it, has heard it so many times, that the greatest joy is in the one who serves. It just doesn't din in us until after so much practice. The greatest joy is for the one who serves without a sense of needing anything in return. This is not theoretical. That sense of me and mine, of how to get mine, all of my strategies, my entire personality is built around how to get what I need and avoid what I don't. So it's very difficult. The one who can drink is thirsty. The one who can hear, the mind is clear. The one who can eat is hungry. I used to, when I was in the world, and I love food, I still do, but I would eat before I'd go to a restaurant, so I wasn't so hungry that I was impatient to eat, which was very much a thing for me. Sometimes still can be. And then there'd be, especially if I was out with friends, there'd be this whole thing about what wine to order, and the whole thing was about editorializing the food, How did it compare to this restaurant, or how was this waiter doing, or how was, the food prepared in this way or that way, and what was the taste, and, all of these things. Okay, it's fine. But I wasn't very hungry at all. And I wasn't very thirsty. We all know the parable of the seeker, a very learned man, goes to a master and asks for the highest fruit of the master's wisdom. And the master welcomes him in and says, "First, let's have some tea." Oh, the master goes in and makes, boils some water and brings it out. And so they're just sort of chit-chatting at first, and the master's pouring tea for the seeker, and it starts overflowing from the cup. And the seeker says, the cup is full now, you can stop pouring. He's like, exactly. You can't hear anything when you think you know. There are what's known as the 3 pillars of Vedanta: Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasana. I have my own translation, so forgive me if you want the real one, go look it up. Shravana means thirsty. You would drink out of this river through the mud and the film on top. This kind of thirsty. Not as a water taste tester. So Shravana is drinking thirstily. This is the thirst of a mumukshu, one of my favorite Sanskrit words, on fire for truth, for liberation. Mumukshu, mumukshutra. This is thirsty. A little bit thirsty is fine. But this one can receive. And when one drinks from the proper source, then the water comes in. And through the process of manana, through contemplation, consideration, digestion, you've received, now you must consider, apply all of the things that you've received to your life, past, present, and future. This water now must occupy the body. This water is distributed so beautifully to every cell of the body. This is manana. This is yoga. This is a merging of water and body. Teaching and student. And then, having fully digested, you have become that. Inseparable. Can you pull the water out that you drank yesterday? No. Even if you could go into each little cell, could you distinguish? No. Same. Manana. Nidhyasana, having become that, you mustn't pretend you aren't. You mustn't indulge. Well, you can, of course, but more suffering, why? You mustn't indulge in the patterns and behaviors of the old one, pre-water. You're no longer that. The habit, patterns, and shadows of mind continue to inform even though you've become something quite different, literally lost in the thoughts of past, not even seeing that you have become something different. You know yourself, each one of us knows it. You have drunk, you have become that, and then somehow it seems like you have forgotten. This is a part of the process. This is not. It will continue to be, so don't be too frustrated. But know that this is what's happening, is that the thoughts and the patterns of past come in and sort of reclaim the new identity. You have drunk. And then when we become this, so many iterations along the way, do you have the courage to be that? Ask me, probably not. I'll be personal for a bit here. Can you imagine the audacity of anyone who would sit here in front of you? This amazing, Who would take this seat? No, it's stupid and reckless. It takes such courage. You see, but what are we? The whole personality of the ego is built around this transaction of please love me. We're born into this world with that. The body can't survive without it, and the soul aches for it to be seen and heard and loved and nourished. Isn't it? Every part of you aches for that. And we're born into this world with that ache. And the body is so reliant on the mother, isn't it? And the soul then attributes all of that to the forms. But that ache is actually for the source of nourishment. Can you dare to turn to that? It's so terrifying. The audacity to be who you are? How dare you? But you see, this is the process of, I guess we would say here in Mayapur, coming to Krishna. Yeah. Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hare Karta, how's it going? Haribol.
So nice to see you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol,
Haribol.
Haribol.
Sure, good to see you.
Imagine, what it takes for a Hare Krishna to chant in the subway the first time. What did it take for Prabhupada to go west? Who supported him in that? It took much convincing, didn't it? For even the one supporter that got him passage on the ship. I am quite certain I would have turned back after the first heart attack. So this nidhyasana is terrifying. That's the voice. It's your very own voice. The true one. It's the voice of Krishna. The other voice is a whisperer. And I'm sorry to say, a liar. You see, it's a bit funny actually, because it's like that voice that I call my voice. It's really been a translator. Been translating for me my entire life. You say something and it tells me what I think it should mean. Every word is translated, transposed. What is inferred and what is implied and what is inferred. All due to connotation by the definitions of the translator. One day, this voice is so close to you, you call it friend. This voice is so close to you, you call it me. This voice you can't distinguish from any of the other voices anymore. But one day, there's a mistranslation and somehow you catch it. You're like, I don't think they meant that. And then you look and you see that there's been so many mistranslations that you trusted fully all throughout your life. And when you come to a reasonable, like practical, honest distrust of the one who whispers and lies, that you call me or friend, and you stop listening to that one, the true voice, the voice of Krishna, in so many varied forms, and it's such a mix at first, so more discernment is necessary. It's not like all of a sudden one turns off and the other turns on. Maybe, but not for me. And usually for us, still identified in that way, it's something we prefer not to do. Or prefer to do even though the voice, the true voice is telling us. From my experience, until I really become aligned in what I might call God's will, more attuned to that voice than what I used to call my voice, I could say, not in a way of shame or self-judgment, but first thought wrong. Try it and just some pause, just insert a pause. Is it true? The thought comes. Is it true? Psst, psst, psst. Just wait. Give it an hour. Give it a day. Sleep on it. Ask, is this true? When I personally clued into this very disturbing pattern, instead of trying to empty my mind of thoughts, as so many meditation instructors were suggesting, I wanted to know where do what I call my thoughts, where do they come from, where do they go, what do they do, how do they behave. I wanted to see what is thought, like putting a rat in a maze and seeing what happens. And so I imagined it as you have a fish on a hook, like deep sea fishing, like a marlin. And the marlin is the thought, and it takes off, and it's got the line, and you let it go. And I'm just watching. And at some point, it gets a little tired, and then you bring the tension back. And I imagine, and that thought now, tired, giving it the chance to fully exhaust its I'm right, they're wrong. And then saying, bringing it back gently to face me, and I would gently say, prove it. Prove it. Is it true what you're saying, that he is such a jerk for having done this, that last week, Prove it. Prove it beyond the shadow of doubt that my thought is right. Over and over and over again, in kind of an insane repetition, I did this. Until one time, the thought turned back and it just, you got me. I can't prove it. You'll know this has happened for you because the first question that will come is, ooh, now what? What now? There's such a journey of relationship and understanding of what is the thought, where it comes from, where it goes, what's the point of it, what your relationship to it is. Eventually you'll come to see you're not the thinker, in fact. That's very good news, by the way. I don't know about the quality of your thoughts, but This was very good news for me. Yeah, I'm really, truly, like, I'm not responsible for what I think. What happens in my mind happens in my mind. I am responsible for my tongue. I sometimes still get it wrong. I know it. Be very careful what thoughts we give to our tongue. The tongue is so powerful. Have you seen it? In what you call synchronicity? What you say of yourself, what you say of others, what you say of isness. Gospel of Thomas says, blaspheme the Father, blaspheme the Son, but do not blaspheme the Holy Spirit. And what we give to the tongue and what we give to the hands and feet, this is ours. If you give the thought to the tongue, the thought will be emboldened. It will be a stronger and stronger vritti. What you say matters very much. The energy with which you say it also is very, very important. And what you do, this is yours. If you reclaim your tongue and reclaim your hands from the mind will settle. When my children were young and we'd host dinner parties at the house and kids would invariably put on some kind of a play or music, something or other, right, to entertain the adults. And they'd get such a wonderful applause and love, and isn't that so wonderful, so cute? And so they'd rush back to the room and create another one. That was half as good. And by now, the adults have had a couple cocktails and it's just, a polite little golf clap. Isn't that sweet? And then they're right back to whatever the conversation they were having. And so they'd regroup and come back for a third one, and they couldn't get any adults' attentions, and there'd be a tantrum. And there'd be a tantrum. But eventually, they would just go back to the room and they'd start playing with whatever was there, some game or coloring or something. This is your mind. If you give it applause and attention, it will keep behaving for you in the same way. And if you withdraw it, it will throw a tantrum. But after the tantrum, if you allow also that to pass, knowing that this is just a little tantrum, no big deal. I think we should hear some more music.
It's 8:40 now.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Om, om, om.
Oh.
Thank you for this precious time. For all the effort and planning and your life sacrifices to getting to this point, sitting right here. It means so much to so many. We'll never be able to put it into words what it means. I love you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. I love you.